Welcome back to Life Lessons with Mrs. O. The last two videos we'll be talking about parenting young adults, and I'll be going through, crisscrossing between teenage and young adults. So today we're going to be talking about what are our roles as parents who have adults as children. Now, very quickly, I want to say something that as at the time our children are moving to university, they are already emerging young adults. They're already emerging as adults. We're talking about age 18. I know in Nigeria, some of them, they start at age 16. But universally, by the time a child is going to university, the child is actually 18. So already emerging as a young adult. So what is our role? Now, the role of a parent will change from sole authority to subtle influence. Sole authority. What does that mean? It means that we are the authority in the life of that child. The child has no choice. It's either my way or the highway. It moves from that where it's yes sir, yes ma'am, no question asked. And even if questions are asked, we respond to the questions because we believe we know what is best for them. They don't have a choice but to do it. Now, when we are talking about emerging young adults or young adults, our role now goes from being the sole authority to subtle influence. Subtle influence, which means that we are influencing our children, and sometimes subtle means they don't even know that we're influencing them to taking the right decisions that will be best for them. Now, we have to bear in mind that most teenagers, 90% of our teenagers believe that we parents, we are dumb, we don't know nothing. We are the olden days, we are old age, we are ancient, we are obsolete. I've heard them describe parents as such because I have the privilege to mentor some young adults and also even to counsel teenagers and young adults. So they just believe that we know nothing. And even for our own children, before we say something, we hear, I know dad, I know mom. We're not finished saying what we are trying to say, and they already know. So I want to also bear that in mind. And also, when we were young, we were teenagers, it's the same thing we did. Popsy na old man, Popsy no day. Well, that's where we are at now. And then many years down the road, our children will also be in our shoes. So it's just a circle. So no hard feelings. No hard feelings. Now, the first thing we'll do is that offer advice if solicited. Now we're talking about the roles of a parent in the life of a young adult. Offer advice if it's solicited, if it's asked. Offer advice if solicited or if you are asked, then you offer your advice. Now, with that advice, I've done it from experience. With that advice, as you are giving the advice, also look out for visual cues. How is the person receiving it? If the way you are saying it, your child's body language is not receiving it, your goal is to give that advice. Your goal is that, okay, my child is heading in this direction, and I want him not to go in that direction because it's not going to be good for the child. Now, as you are giving that advice, or they ask for advice, when you read their cues, you are able to still say the same thing, but in a different language. You are still able to say something, but in a different tone. So it's important that you watch for those visual cues. Now, also, remember that even as you give those solicited advice, they don't have to take it. Remember, we are now subtle influencers. They may not take that advice. Please don't be upset. Is it every advice that your parents are giving that you take? No. And don't say, oh, you have more common sense. Don't forget, when we were their age, we didn't have common sense. We made mistakes. So allow them to grow, just like our parents gave us the privilege to grow. Let's allow our own children grow. Let's give them space. So be in the background. Watch and pray for them. We're talking about the roles of parents in the lives of the young adults. Don't be quick to jump to their rescue. I'm talking to myself. Don't be quick to jump to their rescue. As parents, we have that fear in our hearts. I do. I don't know about you. I do, where it's like, I hope. And because we don't want them to make costly mistakes, because we don't want them to suffer pain, we tend to jump in. But as I'm telling you, I'm talking to myself. Don't be quick to jump to their rescue. Why? Because it hampers or inhibits their growth. Now, I'm not talking about physical growth now. I'm talking about mental growth, emotional growth, psychological growth. So that's why I said, let's be in the background, let's watch and pray, and let's not be too quick to jump to their rescue, because it hampers their growth or it inhibits their growth. Now, also realize they have a right to their freedom to make decisions and even make mistakes. I repeat, they have a right to their freedom. They have a right to their freedom to make mistakes. They have a right to their freedom to make decisions. Let's give them that space. Let's let them have that right. Let us release that right to our children to make their decisions, to make their mistakes, and learn from those mistakes. And when they learn from those mistakes, they will not make it again. A little pain. A child that puts his finger in the fire, when he sees fire the next time, he will not put his hand in that fire. Why? Because he's learned that putting my hand or my finger in the fire will cause my finger to burn. It's the same way. Yes, sometimes we don't want them to make mistakes that will cost them. Sometimes it's good, especially when you tell them and they don't listen. Let's not rush to their rescue. Let's not be quick to jump to their rescue. Let's give them that right to their freedom. Now, parents suddenly wakes up from slumber when their child is an adult and realizes that their child is not independent. He's not doing what his peers is supposed to be doing. Sometimes they are not employed. They're still depending on parents for finances. They're still staying at home with their parents. There's no contribution from that child. The child is not even able to sustain himself. We want to guide against that. So you parents that is watching, maybe you have teenagers, maybe you have young school-age children, please, always look at the end results, the goal, the final goal, the final picture you have in your head concerning your child, to be an independent, responsible young man and young woman. Always have that in view as you raise your children, so that at the end of the day, your child will not fail to launch out, will not fail to be the adult you want him to be, will not fail to be the adult you want her to be. And then I want to quickly say, for those of us who have employees, domestic staff, your domestic staff does everything for your child. Please, when we were growing up, or I don't know, but when I was growing up, I had domestic staff. But you would think that it's me that is the domestic staff, and the domestic staff is the child in the house. But I'm grateful to my mom and my dad, because they really prepared me for life. It was hard then. I used to just think that my mom was not my mom. And my father, I don't know where he came from. In fact, I used to think my mother was my stepmother, because she was hard on me. But thank God, I didn't raise my children the way my mom raised me. But my children are independent. They're able to take care of themselves. They're able to take care of their needs. That's what I'm asking for. Give them room. Give them room to explore. Give them room to grow. Not just in academics, but mentally, physically, emotionally. Give them room to grow. You know, give them, you can give them freedom with boundaries. Freedom with boundaries as a teenager. And then even as a young child, and you gradually take away those boundaries as they continue to grow from one stage of development to another stage of development. Now, allow your child to have responsibility for themselves now that they are adults. Even if they are staying in your house with you, give them that freedom to do what they need to do. But be ready to give counsel. I have my one of them is at home with me. She has her freedom to do whatever she wants to do, but if I see that it's not going to work, I'll tell her it's not going to work. It's now left for her to accept that advice or not. And she does not accept the advice. When the consequences come, I will only greet her, Peleo, and I'll tell her, I told you, you did not listen. And they learn from that. My daughter, she's very quick because she has learned the hard way. So when mom is saying something, she knows that, okay. And something I just said, just wait. The last time something happened and I was telling her, it didn't look as if it was going to work. And then when it happened, she said, Mom, and I said, I told you, say, yes, Mom, you said it. So that also means that give your children time to trust your judgment, to trust your advice. If you advise them well and stay in the background, they will come back. You are telling them not to fall and they decide to fall. When they fall, they will come back, and once they make that first mistake and they realize that you are right, let me tell you, they will always come back. They will seek your advice. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to force it on them. They will come back. So I know my time is also, man, I have to do another video. I don't know. I was just thinking, but 15 minutes is not enough. Because I keep my videos to be between the 10 and 15. So let me see if I can just put in one more. Just one more. Now, I've said that give your children the ability, the allowance to become responsible for themselves. And one way we can start is that as they grow from one stage to another stage, give them age-appropriate responsibilities so that they are able to own it, they are able to be successful in it. And little things, you have a teenager, your teenager should be washing clothes by themselves now. Your teenager should be able to clean their bedroom. Your teenagers should be able to make noodles for themselves. If you have domestic staff, let your child be in the kitchen with your domestic staff. Let your child be in the kitchen when you are in the kitchen with your domestic staff. Let your child be part of what it is that you are doing. Your domestic staff will go. In fact, every time your domestic staff are doing things, you are training your domestic staff to become a successful adult. So whilst you are doing that for the domestic staff, do the same for your child. Now, it's imperative that you know and recognize the ability of your children. And it's also important that you allow and expect your children to do what they can do while leaving room for mistakes. Your child is not you and may not do or see things the way you do. Make allowances for their shortcomings and correct them in love. I'll say that again. It's imperative that you know and recognize the ability of your children. It is equally important that you allow and expect your children to do what they can while leaving room for mistakes. Now, I told you in my last two videos, mistakes are not the one that will cost them their lives. Then your child is not you and may not do or see things the way you do. Make those allowances for their shortcomings and correct in love. Thank you for watching. Until I see you next time, keep the comments coming in. Keep the ideas coming in. I would love to also hear from you. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment box. And if it's something I have to address in another video, I will. Until I see you next time, stay blessed. Ciao.